Hello, hello, welcome to Mindset2Results. And today our guest is Bill Simpson. He is coach, relationship coach for men. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Elena. How are you?
Great, welcome. I'm looking forward for our interesting conversation. You have such a huge experience in coaching and coaching men, help them to find their happiness and find their harmony, good relations, because it is so important for men. I think that when they have all these responsibilities at work, to come at home and feel in peace, to feel loved, be supported. Yes, so what let's discuss how to find that harmony. I don't even speak about the balance because we know that there is no balance. We always have some priorities, yeah. But let's speak today about that harmony and how can men be happy, how men can maintain those healthy, beautiful relations so they always can come home from work and be loved and supported.
Yeah, let's wave that magic wand and let's let that happen. Yeah, it really starts with the individual, with the man. You know, um, if we're changing ourselves to for whether it's for our jobs or is it for our relationship, and we're not doing it for ourselves, then we're missing out on the whole thing. Because at some point you may resent your job because they're taking away all this time for you and you're doing it for the money, or you're doing it for your spouse or partner, doing it for your family, and you're not doing it for yourself. Then you're missing the boat, because at some point you're going to have resentment and anger and frustration because you're not living the life you love. So so it really starts with the individual.
Can
And
you please, yeah,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So I just wanted to ask you, what was your story? How you had that experience maybe in your life that you understood that it starts from you, as you just said, that it all starts from individual, right? Because so many people think that there are so many other factors, and as it is men, he may think it is she, yeah, who makes me feel this way,
Mhm.
or who doesn't just fulfill my wishes. So, how did you come with this understanding that everything is starting, all the changes starts within you?
Well, it was a long road for me. I'll take you back to my childhood, where I was about 8 years old, and my parents had gotten divorced when I was around six, and then around 8 years old, my mother decided to give custody to my father, my brother and me, to my father, and after that, 5 years later, my mother died, and so I didn't see her between the ages of 8 and 13 when she died. So there, I discovered that there was an abandonment issue, that my mother left me. Right, I wasn't aware of it at the time, and what happened was I started to overlap my relationships when I started dating in high school. So I would be with one girl, and then kind of before she abandoned me, I would find another girl, and so I overlapped the relationship, and that went all the way to my first marriage, where I was doing the same thing, and then I was struggling in life and decided to get some help, to get some therapy. And that's when I
Mm.
realized there was this abandonment issue. And that after that divorce, I had to learn to be okay with me. And part of that was through therapy, through different types of mind body experiences, and just really getting in touch with who I was. And once I was able to do that, when being okay with me, uh, then that was the change. That was the catalyst that allowed me to find a relationship, not to complete me, not to had to have a relationship. It was something to enhance my life versus needing that in my life. And so, subsequently, I've been through 3 divorces in my life, and all those divorces were learning experiences for me to continue to heal and grow, to find who I am, to where now, tomorrow I'll be celebrating my anniversary. My wife and I have been together for 16 years, and it just keeps getting bigger and better, and it's amazing. And it took a lot of work for me to get there. And so you asked about creating that work-life balance and that harmony. Well, my previous career was in radio, and I did a high-profile morning show here in Philadelphia, and that consumed quite a bit of my time. And it was a uh, great experience. I loved doing it. It was work that I loved to do, and yet it took a lot of my time. It was almost a 24-hour a day job because I had to be aware of what was going on in the world. I would get up at 3:30 in the morning and be on the air at 5:30, and then up until I would go to bed, I would be kind of consumed with that. And I know that that played into my relationship. And so having those experiences, I know how, I created that imbalance because I focused on what was really working for me was my job. I put all my energy and my passion into that. And then it started to, because my relationship wasn't really working out, I created that imbalance.
Okay,
So,
let's discuss initially what you said, because that was very interesting. So
mhm,
let's just discuss the first part
sure.
and before we go to the second one. So you said that you noticed with the help of the therapy, you recognized that there was a pattern running in your subconscious mind that happened as a program to prevent you from having pain. Yes, so when your mother abandoned you, it was very painful. It was shock. It was emotional impact on you, and it stayed in your subconscious mind. That subconsciously, when you were starting new relations, to some point you wanted to quit relations before that woman would quit you. Like you assumed, you were living in that expectation that
Mhm.
relations will finish when the woman will quit you, yes, leave you, because it was a pattern which was created by that episode with your mother in your childhood, and that pattern was repeating again and again. And if you would not recognize that pattern, it would just continue, and it would just be relations after relations after relations, and those women would not even know what happened, why you just started sabotaging relations and left. Yes.
Right. Yes, and that's the key. Most of our behavior is subconscious, and until we have awareness of what we're doing, we're going to continue those patterns. And that's why I said I kind of had to learn the hard way. These patterns kept showing up, and then once I had the awareness, then I could do something about it. And that's kind of the challenge is, well, now that I'm aware, then I've got to do something. And
Mhm.
and I used to joke to say, I kind of liked it when I was ignorant because I didn't have to do all this stuff, and I didn't have to create all these changes because changes, is hard. Well, I learned that change is actually easy. It's our attitude about change that makes it hard. And so when we are fighting against the change, we don't want to change, we want to change, then it's going to be hard. And that doesn't mean there's no hard work. It just means you have to be committed to do the work.
So let's speak now about recognizing the patterns which can break relations. As we said that these patterns are running in our subconscious mind, and they were created when we were small, so we don't even recognize them. And it is so important to recognize them, because if we don't, we just continue to do the same as we did. So Tell us a little bit like what you think, how it is important, and be aware of those patterns so we can see where it is going and can cut it and not let it run our life.
Yeah, well, it's so important because if you don't have the awareness, the behavior will continue, and you may end a relationship and then you go into another relationship, you repeat the same patterns, and then you wonder why I keep finding the same people. And it's not about that. It's about I'm doing the same stuff over and over again. I'm not even aware of it. So oftentimes it's either maybe going to therapy or getting feedback from your spouse or partner, taking that in, being aware of your behavior, and then making that change.
So why you think people attract the same people as they did before? Like they end relations and they think that the better relations will be future relations will be better, and somehow it happens that they attract the same person, like it is like different physical body but the same person inside. Yes, and
Hmm.
this is going on and on. So why is it happening?
Well, partly it could be, as I just said, about the subconscious patterns that are running, and we do the same behavior, so we're going to get maybe the same response or similar responses from our spouse or partner. The other is that we attract, or we are attracted to what's familiar, and whether it's good for us or not. And so we kind of go, oh, I like this energy, um, and it may be from your past, from how you were raised in your family or whatever. It becomes familiar in the beginning, and then even if it's bad, if it's just a bad relationship or abusive relationship, we fall into it, and then we're kind of get stuck in it at times because we're familiar with that kind of drama or whatever, those conflicts.
Yeah, so it is like home state. Yes, at feelings language, like home state. It feels familiar. It just feels like home, and
Right.
this is how people attract the same again and again.
Yeah.
And another thing is that we attract who we are. Yeah, we
Hmm.
don't get in life what we want. We get in life who we become. And if people don't change from within, if they don't see the reasons in themselves why those relations didn't work, and if they don't work on understanding like they were the cause that relations ended somehow, yes, and if they don't work on removing those roots from that cause, nothing new will happen.
True. Yeah, and it all comes back to awareness, and oftentimes therapy is the route to do that. um, as a coach, I don't go into processing your childhood. Yet, if that awareness comes up, then we work from today and move forward to say, okay, that was your childhood. Being aware of that and those patterns, now let's shift those patterns and move from today forward. Present day forward. The past is something we can learn from. We don't have to repeat it.
How do you help men to understand that they are the cause and to look in themselves to start making real change?
Yeah, it really depends on, when I first start talking with them and getting some background and kind of assess where they are. Um, Sometimes it's really supporting them in where they are before I even say, hey, this is about you, not about them, because they have to feel safe and supported in order to open up and be vulnerable. And then once they do, and we have this good rapport and a sense of trust between the two of us, then that's my opportunity to say, okay, let's look at your role here, your part of this situation, and let's see how we can make some changes, and see how that impacts your relationship.
Yeah, would you share please some situations like the common situations that men find themselves that they need to solve?
Yeah. Communication is a big is a big deal in relationship. And a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, Elena, goes both ways. It's men and women. Yet men have they're little because of our social conditioning, behind the eight ball. And it's really about on the where their reality is in the eye of the receiver. And what that means is what your experience is, I want to validate that so you feel seen and heard. It may not be right or wrong. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It's your experience. So if you say to me, Bill, stop yelling at me, and I go, I'm not yelling at you. Well, I'm just getting defensive and I'm not validating your experience. But if I say, oh, I'm sorry you experienced me that way, Elena, tell me how I did that because I don't. I say, how you're saying it or your tone. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. So here it is perception matter. Yes. So how perception can help save relations, because it is the way that people see the world. They look at things from different perception and they see different things. And not, nobody is right or wrong. Yes, like everybody is right because they just see
Right.
like this. If I show you my mobile and you say that it is white and I say no, it is black, right? And we cannot argue because it is, for me it is black. Yes, and for you it is white. And
Right, right.
we look at the same thing but just from different point of view. And this is important in communication. Yes, that it is not, doesn't matter who is right. So it is because we are conditioned right before in school, just be competitive, be right. But actually in relations it doesn't matter who is right. Yes, the matter is that we love each other, that we support each other, that we understand, right? And it is more important than being right. Yes, being
Exactly.
right and see other person sad and yes, or feeling bad.
Yeah,
Yes, what?
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's both of us, I want to be heard and seen, you want to be heard and seen. And when we both feel heard and seen, then we can start to resolve the issue. But if we're defensive and pushing back, then that's going to cause problems right away. And if you do that repeatedly, then you start to kind of give up on each other, and you start to drift apart. And that's one of the worst things that can happen in a relationship is drifting apart. So it's really key to listen and understand where your partner or spouse is coming from, not right or wrong, validating their experience, and then switch roles. Do the same for each other, and make sure you're listening and paying attention, and say it back to them. It's reflective listening. Repeat back what you said, and make sure that I understand where you're coming from. And if that's not right, then you say, "Oh, well, tell me again," and then I'll until I get it right. Once you feel seen and heard, that's the key. And then I get to say my piece, and then I feel seen and heard after you repeat it back to me. And we just aren't taught this stuff. So we just get stuck in these loops and these patterns that break communication. And when you do that, take the time to really understand and see each other, you both feel seen and heard, then you're coming together and you're working together to try to resolve the issue.
Mhm. Yes, so it is like breaking those patterns. Yes, when people uh, are like robots, like are like programmed beings. Just everyone operates in its own pattern, and they disconnect because they're
Mhm.
so much inside each us, or each of them just inside of themselves. Yes, and when they start understanding those patterns, that those patterns control the way they speak, control that they react, right? Because this is how it happens automatically, automatic behavior. And instead of reacting, when people know about perception, they start respond. Yes, and patterns, if they just are in patterns, they will react even before they think. Yes,
Right.
something they
Right.
hear and they just read, and then they say, "Oh, what did I say? Why did I say that? I was not even supposed to do that, right?" So this is very important to understand that it shouldn't be reaction. You should have time and understand, process the situation, and find the way how is the best way. What is the best way to respond? That
Yeah.
to not to hurt the other person and to act with love and care.
And that's where mindfulness comes in, to be aware. And sometimes, like you said, we're on this automatic pilot and we would just react from our thought, our feeling, maybe even an urge in our bodies. And what mindfulness teaches us is to accept that thought. Doesn't have to be true, or you don't have to believe it. You can accept your feeling. We can't really control the feeling. We can accept that it's there. And we can even accept what's going on in our bodies. How we respond versus reacting is from what's important to us, what matters to us. So if it matters to me to communicate with you in a way that you feel seen and heard, then I have to pause, whatever that thought, feeling, or body sensation is, accept it, maybe take a couple of deep breaths if you have time, and then come from what's important to you, your values, versus letting your thoughts, your feelings, and your body sensations run the show.
Yeah, exactly. And I think many men come to you asking the question, how can I save relations? How would you
Well,
help?
that's a common, yeah, that's a common question. And, you know, yeah, it's a pain point. And, marketing teaches you to, what's the pain point? Well, I want to save my marriage. I want to save my relationship. Well, yeah, that's great. Yet I'm not here to save your relationship, even though I'm a relationship coach. And people might say that doesn't make sense. Well, it does to me, because I'm here to help you to become a better version of yourself, for yourself. And then you take that better version of yourself to your relationship and hopefully create an optimal situation where either your relationship's going to grow because you're changing in a positive way, or you're going to realize, no matter what I do, I've tried everything and it just doesn't work out. Then you're going to take what you've learned and go to the next relationship and find that fit for you, that works for you, with that new and better version of yourself.
Yeah, so again, we come to the place that we attract everything in our life. Yes, and first, in order to have a great relationship, we should fix ourselves first. Yeah, we should
Yeah.
become the person who is happy with ourselves,
Right.
not to look at relationship as I need somebody to make me happy. Yes, like this, the most people they think that they need somebody to make them complete. It means that they are not complete, and then they expect that person to complete that, and that person just doesn't know why I have to complete somebody. Yes, like
Yeah, and if you're looking for them to complete you and they're not doing that, then you're blaming them and you become resentful and you don't even realize that's what you're doing. It's like, and so and then you wonder what's going on here. Why does this happen to me every time?
yes, like foundation. Yeah, foundation should be right, and that foundation should be happiness. Yeah, why
Mhm.
happiness is the great foundation for relationship? Because if the person is happy with himself, he doesn't expect somebody to complete him or make him happy. Yes, it is like coming in relations demanding from that person who doesn't even aware of that that
Right,
there are some
right.
expectations. Yeah,
Yeah,
so coming to relations with the being a full cup. Yes, full
yeah,
cup that wants to give happiness, that wants to share great moments, and which want to give because the cup is full. Not
yep,
that when cup is empty and you can't, you want relations just come and empty my cup, and it is just give 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 scenario that at and at the end it will not work, because that person, if that just comes from the place that he have to give all the time, or she have to give all the time, and doesn't get anything back, this is
Hmm.
when relations don't work.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's not my job to complete you. I can't do that. You got to complete yourself. And so there's that. And then with your cup full of who you are and being your true self and being the best version of yourself, I think of my wife and me. I want to give her and support her to live her best life, and she wants to do the same for me. But we're not doing it to complete each other. We're doing it because we care for each other, we love each other, and we want to see each other grow. And when that becomes a priority, when you're committed to that, then you're working together as a team and collaborating to do, both of you doing your best. And you can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, so that actually at the end it becomes like men and women complete each other, but it comes as a sequence of being complete by yourself. Yes,
Right.
like
Two
being
two
happy.
holes completed. It's not we're gonna be halves and halves. It's two holes coming together, and not as one, as a team. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is good when two full cups come together. So
Yeah,
over
exactly.
over overflow to each other from that state of happiness, of being
Yes.
enough, of being supportive, being healthy, happy. Yes, and it is really amazing relations where it come, and all starts from mindfulness. Yeah, all starts from mindfulness, because nothing is in life is just happens with sudden, when people meet each other and they just think, oh, we just met, and then the rest will be automatically amazing. Unfortunately, it doesn't work this way. So let's speak about this, like why so often it happens that people meet, they go dating, then they fall in love, and it everything feels so bright, so good, that they think that this is time when they marry, and they think that they will live so happy life, and like 1 year or even less passes, and they cannot even stay in one house with each other. So what do you think is the reason why it happens?
I think there are a variety of reasons because there's different aspects of love. You have that falling in love feeling, like you mentioned, the emotional bond that you have, the physical attraction. And when you're thinking of a long-term relationship, you also have to think about the practical part of that, the pragmatics of being in a relationship. That's what's real. And we have to accept their ups and downs in life. Life's not always going to be, that euphoric sense of falling in love, and that we have to be practical with ourselves and with the relationship. And so you have to have the passion, and all these things are like, it's like a well-oiled machine working in harmony. And when one thing drops off, the practicality drops off, then you're not functioning very well on a day-to-day basis. If the emotional piece falls off, then you're not really connecting on an emotional level. If the passion is not there, then where's the fun? Where's the joy in the relationship? And then we have that part of us that goes through adversity. Whether there's might be a loss or a crisis in the family, and that can play on a relationship. So all these components can impact what you're asking. And so it's really trying to find a harmony and balance. We're not always going to be euphorically in love. And sometimes you may not even love or like your partner at that moment, because our feelings can change. But you know it deep inside that you do. So you hold on to that. So you see what I'm saying. There's so many components to creating that longevity, that long-term relationship, that sometimes we forget all the components, all the pieces.
So what do you think are those secrets how to build those long time longevity creation relations?
Yeah, well, it's finding harmony in all the things I said, like being there for each other when times are hard and when maybe communication breaks down and we're just not getting along, and having the big picture in mind when we're going through struggles. I mean, that's where the challenges are. I mean, when we can get through the hard times, and we can get through anything. And, my wife and I have been through a lot of different crises, and, it just brings us closer together. And when you can work together as a team to collaborate, with those pragmatics, the day-to-day life, um, I mean, that's big. And when you're not looking at that, you just want to be in love and, rainbows and unicorns all the time. That's just not realistic. So, are there secrets to that? Well, yeah, the secret is balancing all those things that we need to do in the relationship, or creating that harmony, I would say. Because sometimes we're going to be out of balance just because things happen that are out of our control. But when we can harmonize and bring that sense of overall compassion and kindness and love to the relationship, and then commit to all the things you have to do, from the pragmatics to the emotional to the passion, all those things, even the adversity, then you'll get through it. And get help if you need it. Most importantly, if you can't do it yourselves, get help. It's out here.
Let's speak about self-love. How self-love important to keep relations?
It's so and so it's and what's unfortunate is we're not really taught this stuff. And I offer compassion practice. I do self-compassion meditations and reinforcement of every day. Even myself, I write down 10 things every day that I love about myself, even the parts of me that struggle, even the parts of me that are getting older. And I see myself on video and I go, oh my gosh, my bags under my eyes. I got, crooked teeth. I love that part of me. Like, it's loving every part of you, because that's just who we are. And we're not taught this. We don't have role models to show us how to do this. We have to learn this. And self-compassion, for a lot of us, is a learned behavior. And the more and more you do that, reinforce that love for yourself. It's not self-pity, woe is me, my life sucks. It's, this is hard, and to accept this is a moment of suffering. This is hard, and I got through a hard suffering moment, a while back, and I'm going to get through this one. And give yourself compassion. What would you say to your best friend, or someone you love, that if they're struggling through the same thing you're going through, what would you say to them? You wouldn't beat them up. You would be supportive and compassionate. And when we learn to do that for ourselves, we're much more open to be in relationship.
Mhm. Yes, again, we come back from that. In order to give love and care, you should to love yourself. You should be happy. You should have that full, become that full cup. Because
Mm.
if you are nervous, worried, anxious, it is very difficult, yes, to care about somebody when you are not cared about yourself. So put yourself first, like that airplane rule with the masks, right?
Right.
Yeah, put mask on your face first, and make sure that you are stable, that you have enough time for yourself, that everybody needs time for yourself. Do something that you really love to do, something that makes you feel good, and be in that beautiful state. And because the state which you are, it is all about energy, and
Hmm.
your thoughts, your state, it will radiate the energy which will impact or affect other people around you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Self-love is the first love, and then take that to your relationship.
Yeah, so anything else which you would like to share with people who listening to us? Maybe some good advice that you would like to tell them.
Oh, how much more time we got? Um, no, it's really, I think the key to take away today is really getting in touch with yourself, loving yourself, and being the best version of yourself, to take that to your relationship, and to be open with your communications. Be vulnerable. Guys, we're programmed and conditioned to hold it all in and not be vulnerable. And the more and more we can be vulnerable, the safer you make the relationship. And that goes for both parties, men and women. Yet women tend to be more vulnerable. And when guys shut down, it creates an unsafety in the relationship. So work on your vulnerability, and that makes you more of a man in my book than holding it in, because you're taking a step to create safety in your relationship, and that says a lot about who you are, and along with that vulnerability become is empathy, having empathy, putting yourself in your partner's shoes. How would you feel if she something, how would you feel if that feel? All those things come into play, and sometimes, and this is what's real, is that in relationships, sometimes we have what's called an unsolvable problem, and we're just not going to agree, and we can agree to disagree and move on, or maybe it's just a line in the sand where nope, I can't go beyond this, and that unsolvable problem means we have to dissolve the relationship. So it doesn't mean the relationship's over if it's an unsolvable problem, if you're willing to recognize that fact that it's an unsolvable problem.
Yeah, thank you. And this question which I wanted to ask you, which you mentioned now, how to be vulnerable. Because for men it can be an issue, because boys usually are told that you are a boy, you shouldn't cry, you should be strong. Yes, and it can create that habit to keep all the emotions inside, yes, not to show out, not to discuss. And if we suppress these emotions, it can become depression, it can become anxiety. Yes, and women maybe even not know don't know what is happening inside of the man, right? And why they started behaving weird. Yes, and not usual way. So, how would you share this with men? How to become, and maybe for somebody even learn to be vulnerable?
Hmm. Well, I think it starts with being willing to get out of your comfort zone. And one practice I offer to my clients is just do one thing every day that gets you out of your comfort zone. Because that, when you get used to getting out of your comfort zone, when you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, then you're more likely to be more open to vulnerability. And it's first and foremost recognizing inside of you what's going on, whether the other person knows or not. And that can be really hard because sometimes we just don't know. And when you don't know, then it's okay to say to your spouse or partner, I'm feeling off right now. I'm not sure what's going on. I just need a minute. Versus, are you okay? I'm fine. What's wrong? Nothing. That just shuts you down. It creates a sense of unsafety in the relationship. So something as simple as that. I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know if it's about you or about me. I just need some space right now. And that way the other person knows, okay, he's being vulnerable. He's at least letting me know. And then the more you can identify what's going on with you over time, you can start expressing that to say to your spouse or partner, I felt really hurt the way you talked to me, and I need you to talk to me in a more respectful way. Um, and that's just an example, but that's a way to say what you feel. I'm feeling hurt, and what I need you to talk to me in a respectful way. And sometimes being vulnerable, if I give an example of, the your wife's been gone all day and you haven't seen her, and you come home and you're like, where have you been? Blah, 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 and you get all attitude instead of saying, hey, I missed you today. I was, you know, I'd like to have had a call from you. And that's being vulnerable. But we don't go there. We want to to attack mode. Make sense?
Yes, and this
Yeah.
attitude attack mode is also a pattern. Yes, because this is what
Right.
we could hear how parents spoke or how other people spoke when we were small. And this is something
Right.
like a pattern which went imprinted into our subconscious mind. And again, it is like reaction, like something happened, and without thinking about this, without reasoning, we can just start repeating that pattern again and again. And then even after that, when we say something, they later we can analyze the situation and say like what happened, like why I even did that, I could do much
Hmm.
better. Yes, so this is how we can be more thoughtful before we do something. Whatever situation happened, take pause, think about this, and think what is the best way, what is the best
Hmm.
way that I can address this situation without blaming somebody, without being aggressive, or without maybe speaking in the not respectful way.
Yeah. And it's easy to go there with those patterns that we've either been subjected to as a child, and family patterns and that kind of thing, or just, you know, how we've been conditioned socially as men to, we can respond with anger, you know, that's acceptable, but we can't respond with vulnerability, that it's a sign of weakness. And if you think about it, the vulnerability, being vulnerable, is, I see it as the strength, because you got to get out of your comfort zone in order to find what's going on inside of you, to be vulnerable, and then have the strength to express your vulnerability. Because when we're vulnerable, we're setting ourselves up for, you know, a risk that maybe our vulnerability will be rejected, or maybe we won't get what we want, and so we're afraid that we'll be hurt with that vulnerability. So we, you know, we push back. We say, no, I'm not even going there, because I'm afraid that what could happen if I make myself vulnerable. And it's not easy, you know, it takes effort and it takes a lot of work. And that's, as a coach, that's why I work with men, and we do role playing and ways to have them practice vulnerability. So when they go back to their spouse or partner, they can practice. And 9 times out of 10, you know, the spouse just, or this partner just welcomes it, because they're starved for that vulnerability.
Mm. Yes. Yes, thank you so much, Bill. It was an amazing conversation, and I'm sure that many people will benefit from listening to this episode. And I'm looking forward to our future episodes, and we will meet again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you
Thank
so much, Elena. I do appreciate it.
you. You're most welcome.